Boy, I'll tell you what, there are so many things that are happening. What am I going to talk about today? Well, today we have to talk about the debt ceiling danger that's coming up and the big battle that's looming there. But make sure that you give us a like. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. And of course, share. Because quite honestly, it doesn't matter whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. When the debt ceiling comes due, the debt ceiling comes due. And what you're looking at here is the longest U.S. government shutdown in history, going all the way back to 76 is the earliest one. And let's see, there wasn't a government shutdown before the 70s when we were on at least a quasi-gold standard. That's interesting. But President Trump holds the record for the longest government shutdown in history, 35 days in 2018 into 2019. And in March, this battle royale picks up again. And so it is quite clear that anything will be used. And what does that exactly do? Because frankly, shutdowns are always just a waste of money and time. What they're saying is we spent all this money, but we're not going to pay for it. So you know that debt ceiling has to be raised, especially with all the debt that has to be issued to fund all of the programs that they want to do. So they can use it as a negotiation tool and they can use it as a threat. And I think that's what we're really seeing here. But it could pack a huge punch. And remember, what we don't know is what is that one little thing going to be that's going to topple everything and create that next crisis. Senate Republicans plot to leapfrog Speaker Johnson on spending fight as Democrats threaten to shut down the government. We have had, and like I said, doesn't matter whether you're Republican or you're Democrat, this is a big battle that always comes about. It kind of makes sense for you to become your own central banker, doesn't it? If we have to take steps to be able to hold them accountable, use the leverage that we have to force it, I cannot support efforts that will continue this lawlessness. That's an opinion. I'm not going there. But the point is if we have to take steps to be able to hold them accountable and use that leverage, we have to force it. And so can you sit there and guarantee me that there isn't going to be a government shutdown? Doesn't really end up saving money. It ends up actually costing a whole lot more. But I think that the Democrats are going to be using this tool. And we're 1 month from a government shutdown. The talks are a mess. Is anybody surprised about that? Because I'm sure not. Republicans may end up needing a bailout from Democratic lawmakers before March 14th. That gives Democrats their first real leverage in Trump's second term. Can you see this problem brewing? I'm not making a personal opinion about any of this. I'm just saying that when you have this much contention, that accidents can and do happen. So get to safety. If you have not yet gotten your sound money strategy in place and executed, get it done ASAP, because this isn't going to get any better. And I'm not just talking about the looming debt ceiling. I'm talking about a lot of moving parts going on out there, depending upon what second of the day you read something. There's a lot that's going on. But keeping the establishment perpetually off balance may well be the prevailing vibe over the next 4 years. And I think that that is exactly what we're going to see, which means a whole lot more volatility and a whole lot more chance for an error in judgment to take place. And how about those unintended consequences to rear their ugly heads? Never has it been more important for you to make sure that you have security in all of the mantra: food, water, energy, security, barterability, which we know for me is primarily silver, wealth preservation, community, arguably the single most important part of this, and shelter. We need to take these matters into our own individual hands, come together in local community to help us create that security that we need no matter what we're doing. And what are the central banks doing for it? Well, they bought $96 billion worth of gold in 2024. The demand surge pushed total gold purchases to a record 4,974 tons, even as jewelry consumption declined due to rising prices. Central banks have now been net buyers for 15 years because that's when the system really died, was 2008. That's not what's coming up. That already happened. That's why I became a prepper. So keep in mind, I think the biggest surprise on the demand side is the fact that the central banks bought 1,000 tons last year. There's been broad-based central bank buying and more than we estimated at the beginning of the year. The central banks are preparing for a major global crisis because they know we're at the end of this game, that there are limitations on how much of this. And by the way, when they're doing this, it doesn't work. Look at Japan. Japan's been doing it since the 90s. And where are they? No better off than they were when they started, except that things are a whole lot more expensive. Make sure that you have that really, really solid foundation. Now let's just jump to questions.
Well, the first question, most important one, was when is the Fed going to stop their BS? That's from Cam.
Well, let me see. Can I hear anything? When the cows come home. But well, let's ask the magic 8 ball. Let's see. So when will the Fed stop their BS? Our work. Well, let's see. Our work. I can't even read this. I'm going to have to do it again. I can't read it. Maybe I need new glasses. Try again. Outlook cloudy. Try again. Yeah, the outlook is very cloudy. But what we're also seeing that gives me a lot of hope is, I'm going to be honest. I don't like a lot of the technique that I see being used, but I can't say that I disagree with some of the choices that are being made by this administration because I think it's fabulous. We should be auditing the Fed. Ron Paul, they all wanted to audit the Fed. Me too. So maybe we can get that in place. Yep. Okay, Goldens and Coons says, watching Bob Barker Price is Right 1970s rerun. Gold was about $40 an ounce. Yes, it was. New cars were $1,000, then $70,000 now compared to today. Would you say that prices are about 70 times higher now compared to then? On some things, on other things, I think they're even higher than that, to be honest with you. But that's because there's no purchasing power left. I could be off a teeny weeny bit, but back in 1970, I believe officially there was roughly 28 cents left out of the original dollar's worth of purchasing power. So it took all of that time between 1913 and 1971 to reduce the purchasing power because gold was still part of it and other governments could pull the gold out. Since then, there have been no restrictions to the inflation. It's all been in the private central bankers' hands. So Goldens and Coons, maybe even more than that. However, 70 times higher? No. Let's go back to even just the food is like 2,500 times higher. A whole lot higher. I mean, you guys know my father was a developer, and I remember that this person that owned a McDonald's, he bought a McDonald's franchise, and this would have been in the early 70s, and he bought a house from my father. And I remember going to McDonald's then, and the big thing, if you think about the ads, were change back from your dollar. from $1. So you could go to McDonald's, have a hamburger, French fries, and a soft drink for under $1. I don't know. What can you do now?
Nothing.
Right? So higher than that, especially food and energy and all of that. I think back then a barrel of energy was about what, $10, $15 a barrel. Now we're somewhere at the moment near 80, but it got up to like 120, which it probably is going to do again. So yeah.
Yeah, what are eggs at like right now?
Oh gosh, yeah, like $12 a dozen.
Yeah.
You know,
what does that percentage raise?
And you know how easy it is to take care of backyard chickens if you are in an area that will allow you to have them, which a lot of people are. So I mean, and those are the best eggs because you know exactly what they're eating. So can I have the next question, please? And Mimi RN. What about goldbacks? Well, I see a place for goldbacks in the cash portion of the strategy, in your sound money strategy. So because they can, and that's one of the things about gold is you can make it super duper thin. And so I don't know what you want to know about goldbacks, but I can definitely see them as part of the strategy. If I didn't answer it, then let me know what else you want to know, Mimi, and I'm happy to expound more on it. And Whistling Freedom, I agree with that. Debt ceiling rises into hyperinflation. Well, yeah, they have to raise the debt ceiling because it's like you going out and buying all this stuff on your credit card, and then you get the bill in the mail and you're debating whether or not you're going to pay that bill. If you don't pay that bill, what are you doing? You're declaring bankruptcy. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see because Elon Musk's Doge did find a lot of irregularities. So will our government not pay all of the bills that we've accumulated? I don't know. Stay tuned. We're going to find out. But that would do a lot as well. But yeah, is it unavoidable? It's unavoidable. Yeah. It's the last thing left. And when you look at every single fiat currency, I mean, here are just some examples of them, but over 4,800 of them no longer exist. Ooh, what did I drop? Oh, Juliet. I didn't drop Juliet. Do you guys? Oh, this is a 1 million bolivars from Venezuela. What do you think about that, Juliet? Yeah, it's not very good, is it? No, it's not. I love this puppy.
There was a secondary question he had up there, which was if Trump revalues gold, could that also trigger hyperinflation? I just didn't want
Well,
you to
that is he'll do it when the hyperinflation. I'm sorry because I didn't miss. Oh no, Whistling Freedom. Debt ceiling rises into hyperinflation, and also if Trump revalues gold, could that also trigger hyperinflation? That would be hyperinflation because what actually happens. We are going to be there. People are going to notice prices going up and up and up. But when they do those overnight revaluations, can I share my screen? Are we set up for that? Okay, I'm going to get out of this. And, oh, I hate it when I lose the mouse. It's really, really super annoying, especially when my fingers aren't working. Okay, there. All right. Now, I created a little something for the strategy specialist. Let's see if I can't find it. Because when we're talking about the hyperinflation, it always looks like this.
Real quickly, there's some questions in the chat about Mrs. Juliet.
Oh, my little baby.
She is a Great Dane, yes.
She is a Great Dane.
And she is so very little. Look at her. Look how small she is. So
She
tiny.
is a smallish
The
Great Dane,
smallest
actually.
little dog. Look at her. She's
I
like a
know.
little baby.
She's 4 years old, and she's been living up at the bug out location. So that's where she's been. Okay, let's see. I think I did this is the right one. But now she's living here, and I think she's a lot happier. Okay, can we share my screen? Oh,
Is it shared over here? Is that what's happening?
is it shared? Here, try it now. Try it now. Wait, try it now. Okay, all right. Let me go here. Okay, so this is an overnight revaluation. See that? Boom. What that does is your currency lost like 1,000 to 1. That's the average rate. So I don't really want to go through this whole thing. Well, I will. Wait, hold on. But there's your overnight hyperinflation, right? That currency devaluation, that's spot dollar, spot silver, and this is spot gold. See what that looks like? That means that your currency, if you had $1,000, here it is. If you had $1,000 in the bank, when you woke up in the morning, you were lucky to have one. Okay, so the answer is 100% of the time. And sound money, your gold, prevents you getting caught in that. Here's the South African rand. It's the same thing. I'm going to do this fast. So that isn't even an overnight revaluation, but you can certainly see spot gold's reaction to it. I'll have to get better at this. This is the Indian rupee, same thing. And 100% of the time, there's the dollar, spot silver, and spot gold. Spot gold, well, in this case, that's actually 160%, not 1,160%. And here it is. This is what we were talking about before, right? Same amount of gold. We're being lied to. We're being robbed constantly, and you can see it. You can absolutely 100% see it. All you have to do is look and pay attention. It's like when I got divorced, right? So I'll just tell you this little bit of a side, but my girls were a year, and we had a little party for them, and I had a girlfriend over with her husband. And maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe it's like a little too personal. But anyway, after the party, we were in the kitchen cleaning up. And she says to me, man, if my husband ever talked to me like that, I would kick his butt out the door. And what came out of my mouth was, talk to me like what? And as soon as I heard that was my response, I realized that I had been lulled into a false sense of security. I didn't even hear how mean he was talking to me. I didn't even hear it. But once it was brought to my attention and I started paying attention, well, we were divorced shortly thereafter. So that's the point with the inflation. What they want is they want to keep it at that 2% level so that you can't really see exactly what is happening, but it doesn't mean that it's not happening. What it means is that you just can't see it. And that's why if you lay in your silver and your gold, you're protecting yourself and you don't have to think about it. I got a divorce, now I don't have to worry about it, except when I have to see them with the grandkids. But I'm sure a lot of people have that experience. I'll open it back up. Bible Preacher asks, what about collecting Morgan silver dollars? I love Morgan silver dollars. I don't happen to have one on here, but Morgans are great. Peace dollars are great. Even the new stuff, even when we're talking about silver, this stuff. Right? Remember, gold and silver in any form is monetary at its base. So absolutely, Morgans, I love them. I love pre-64 dimes and quarters and half dollars and all of that. I love them. Yes. And Theodora asks, do you think Trump will revalue gold? I think we got a shot, honest to God. If so, do you think it will be this year? I don't think it'll be this year, but anything could happen. But no, I don't think it's going to be this year. But what I do know is that I have coming up, and we're going to talk about this next week. And I'm really, really excited because there are two big things that are coming up for me this week. Number one, I don't have too many details on this, though Jacqueline does, because she really manages me, to be honest with you. But I am going to Burbank to work on a documentary about sound money. And then on Saturday, I'm flying to Miami to work with the House Speaker and educate him on sound money. So I told you I wanted to get involved and try and work with the states to get sound money legalized. Well, that's starting this weekend. So it's a little scary because I don't know how to do this, but I'll show up and I'll do whatever I need to. And I'm very grateful to the Sound Money Movement Advisory Board that I happen to sit on for giving me this opportunity, because this is how I'm really being of service to you guys. This is really it. I'm going to do my best, and it could very well be that President Trump is the one that gives us the opportunity to insert and have sound money that is convertible into gold. You can pull it out if you don't like what's happening. This may be our shot at that. So, yeah, I do think that we're going to see that. I don't think it's going to be this year yet, because we've got to deal with the hyperinflation. That's when they do that, when they're trying to get your confidence back. And they have to get rid of all of this debt. It's not an easy switch from one fiat currency into the new system. It's actually really, really hard. That's why I created the mantra, right? And it was just based upon historic what happens, right? So food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. You got to get that done, because that's what's going to sustain a reasonable standard of living and put you in a position to have the wealth shift your way and generate income that, let me think, you can't outlive. What a concept. What a concept. Yeah, I think we've got a shot, and I'm actually really, really excited about it. And Tracking Progress asks, what are your thoughts on Elon Musk auditing Fort Knox? Well, I am all for that, but we've got to take it a step further, because they've got to audit the ownership books. All of that gold could be sitting there, like at the Bank of England, right? There's a whole bunch of gold sitting at the Bank of England. But what the bank is doing is leasing out that gold. And actually, in this case, right today, they're actually physically not just on a paper contract that means nothing, right? But physically shipping the gold to the U.S. The U.S., you could say, is repatriating their gold right now. So don't take the question away from me, please. But yeah, I think he needs to, I think somebody in our government needs to do more than just make sure that all those gold bars are there. There needs to be an ownership. We need some kind of accounting to see who really owns that gold and how much that's been hypothecated and rehypothecated, which means loaned out and loaned out again and again and again and again and again and again and again.
Real quick, Chris Willis, hey, thank you so much for being
Hi,
here.
Chris.
Really appreciate you.
I appreciate everybody being here.
Absolutely, everyone being here. Absolutely. He won't be able to make the lives much anymore. That's totally fine. We're going to be breaking down these videos and posting them on Mondays moving forward. Okay, so that goes for anyone in the chat. If you're unable to make the full live, we'll be breaking down the content of the video. If there's a really, really punchy question, we'll also put that in there as well.
Yeah, so just a thought too, Adam.
Yeah.
If you're not able to come to the live, because a lot of people watching this won't, but you have questions about it, if you send them to questions@LynetteZang.com and say that they're questions for the live in the subject matter, then we'll still answer them for you, and we'll let you know.
Absolutely.
Juliet, where are you going?
Absolutely.
Come here.
But thank you, Chris. Really appreciate you being here. I appreciate all the lives you show
Absolutely.
up to. So I recognize
Appreciate everybody showing up. We've got to grow this. Okay. And Cool Brother G asks, when and if gold is revaluated and we have hyperinflation as a result, who would have the money to buy gold? How do you see that playing out? Okay. Number one, the revaluation will happen at the hyperinflation. Right? So what they do is what governments do and central bankers do is they suppress. They suppress the price of gold because a rising gold price is an indication of a failing currency and a future crisis, right? They don't want you to understand that this stuff is failing, right? But what ends up happening, so it's all really based on confidence, but what ends up happening is that doing this, right? They're printing more and more money. And so the goods and service, the only difference between inflation and hyperinflation is the speed of that inflation. So you do need to understand that when we are in hyperinflation, it's because the public has lost confidence in the currency and in the system. And that overnight revaluation is because a tube of toothpaste is $20,000. And so what they do is they lop off all those zeros telling you, oh, see, now we're okay. They issue a new currency, right? Also lopping off all those zeros, but they don't change behavior. So immediately, kind of like what you saw with Zimbabwe, where they lopped off all those zeros, but that didn't really fix the problem because they keep doing the same thing. They tell you they're not doing the same thing, but they're getting the same results. So insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So I didn't finish with the other question yet, darling. And keep going. Okay, here it is. So understand that absolutely the revaluation comes after some part of the hyperinflation. It's not usually done yet because globally, on average, they will do that overnight revaluation 3 times. But then you look at Venezuela and you look at Zimbabwe, and they're both on their 6th iteration of it. So I can't quite tell you that, but the next part of it is who would have the money to buy gold. There are, globally on average, as we're going through this hyperinflationary reset, 80% of the population turns into abject poverty. So it will not be that 80% that can buy the gold. But I didn't say 100%. There are always people with money. Always. And they want what nobody else can have. And again, going back to Zimbabwe, a couple years ago, they were issuing gold coins. Now, who could afford those gold coins? Not the general population. The wealthy could afford those gold coins just like they are now. So it will not be the general population, but 100% it will be those that are not in abject poverty. Now, in Venezuela and Zimbabwe, 90% are in abject poverty. Get it now while you can, while it's dirt cheap. That's what you got to do, just like the central banks are doing. And how do you see that playing out? Okay, so this is how I see it playing out. I think that because of what's going on, there's an awful lot of volatility and an awful lot of uncertainty. And with the terrorists going into play, and we have to see, we don't know how much of this is negotiation or what's really coming about. Either way, all of the spending that they're wanting to do, they haven't offset that with cuts yet, even though they're going through with a machete and cutting a lot of stuff. So I believe that by June, we are going to see much more rapid inflation. That has something to do with the confidence of the general public, because you guys are here because you can see what's going on and you want to understand it so that you get into a position where you either are not impacted by it or you can benefit from it. And that's the best position to be, are those two places. But most of the other people, think about how hard you have to work just to sustain your current standard of living right now. So that means you're not paying attention. I even had this conversation with my daughter. Some of you might remember Megan. I had this conversation with her last week, and she's doing an auto body shop with her husband now, and so that's great, and they're really, really busy. And I was talking to her about what was going on, and she said, "I'll tell you the truth, Mom. I'm so busy, I don't even have time to pay attention." That's pretty typical. So these are the people that will be caught off guard. This is why community is so important, because really you can live without gold and silver if you have your food and your water and your energy and you have security in all those other places. But yeah, the way I see it folding out is that the public will lose the last bit of confidence because there's not that much in there now. And then we're in hyperinflation. It's already begun. If you look at the M2V, the monetary velocity, in my opinion, that's already begun. You just can't see it yet, but maybe by the end of the year it will be a lot more apparent. But it's all a con game. It's all about consumer confidence, public confidence in the system.
There was one question I missed. I want to make sure I get this one. It was from J.A. Boyle, 3875. Sorry if I'm getting the name wrong. Lynette, do you really think the risk of confiscation of gold is high enough to justify buying things like pre-33 over bullion, given me much higher premiums? Mm-hmm. What about older foreign gold? Sorry,
I like older foreign gold. Yes, I really do think, look, desperate governments do desperate things. And what I'm trying to show you in this series, and so bear with me because we just recorded, I think the first one is coming out Thursday, right? Part one is coming out Thursday. Part 2 will come out next Thursday. And then part 3 will come out after that. They've been confiscating your wealth since the day you were born. It's just hard for me to imagine that at the last moment, they're going to say, oh, yeah, we've gotten enough of your wealth. Plus, think about this. You've got this massive clash that's happening right now. I've never seen anything like this in all the time that I've been in these markets, where the physical world and the intangible world are colliding. So if those governments ask that, the Bank of England is holding their gold, right? And they're now shipping that gold to the US and it's being given away. So what happens if we have a rush for repatriation from other countries wanting their gold back from the Bank of England? The Bank of England doesn't have it anymore. That even makes the probability of gold confiscation even higher than it was before. So yes, there is lots of historic precedents. There is current precedents. Watch the series. Yeah, 100%. I believe in it. And not only that, but let's talk about those premiums for a second. I think I have something over here. Let's see. Are these 20s? I think they are. Yes. Okay. So, and these are like the lower quality 20s. So that would make a whole lot of sense. All right. This is a bullion coin. So wherever spot is and whatever that premium is, that's what you're going to pay for it. But like, I don't know that it's not this particular coin, but this particular coin, let's say that was, let's say that right now you're having to pay, I don't know, $3,100 for it. Understand, you can't take any pricing from me because this is not the area that I work in anymore. However, this particular coin is probably operating for every dollar move in bullion, a $2 move. And that's if there's a lot of them. If there is a high population, which means a lot that are known to exist in a certain area. As you go up the quality level, which means fewer blemishes because they all have the same gold content, there are even fewer. So maybe for every dollar move in bullion, you're going to see a 3.9 move in there. So it seems more expensive when you're buying it. But remember, at Zang Enterprises, when you're looking at the sound money strategy, and I've been studying this on some level my entire life, my entire flipping life, and I'm 70 years old, right? At those higher levels, based upon your goals, like let's say you want to pay off a mortgage, or let's say you want to buy an income producing asset, you're going to use different coins to accomplish those different things. And so in reality, if this were to move, I'm sorry, I'm probably getting really confusing here, but let me just make it super simple. If this moves for $1, and this moves at $2, even though this costs you a little bit more, it will take less money to pay off that mortgage. to buy those other assets because this moves a lot more than this does. I don't know. Did that make sense? Did that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
You know, I'll do something on that. I'll do something on that so that you can see it better, and why I like those better, because I see no way around a confiscation. Desperate governments do desperate things. Isn't inflation a form of confiscation? How about taxation? Isn't taxation a form of confiscation? Right? How about royalties? Isn't that a form of confiscation? So there are many, many, many names for confiscation. I don't think they're going to stop at the last part of it, particularly when, honestly, particularly when those governments ask for their gold back and they can't get it. They're going to have to pull that gold from somewhere, aren't they? Just saying. Okay. And Rahela Fazli, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. How much will gold per ounce reach in 2025, in my opinion? Okay, so there are two different things. I think what you're talking about is the spot gold market, and to see it somewhere around $3,500 an ounce by the end of this year would not be surprising, maybe even higher. It kind of depends on how much volatility is in these markets, and if there is indeed an accident that happens, then we could see it over 4,000, and that wouldn't surprise me. Now, if you're asking me of its fundamental value, it's all based on how much of this they do, because the more debt that they grow and the more money that they print, the higher that fundamental value will be. You will see that when they start doing those overnight revaluations. That's when you will see the fundamental value. And it won't hit it the first time. It usually hits it or gets near there by the third time. And Chill asks, yeah, everybody wants me to chill. I need to. If you have any suggestions, I'm open. I try. Do you think in a financial crisis, Congress will allow tax-free and or penalty-free withdrawals? If you're referring to your retirement plans, well, they've been known to do that in the past, so it would not surprise me, because this is a consumer-driven economy and consumers have to keep consuming, and so they'll give up the income taxes that you would pay on your retirement plans to allow you to pull out a certain amount. I think in 2020, I think it was like 100,000. Other crisis, something like 100,000 that you could pull out without it being impacted tax-wise. So the answer is yes, I do think that they'll do that again. And Benedicte Paulson asks, a lot of experts say that the USA is bankrupt. Can you explain why? Yeah, it's really simple, because all of these are debt notes and we don't have enough wealth to pay it off unless we revalue gold. So these are all debt. And what does it say on, well, this is actually not real, but on the top of the bill, pull out your wallet, pull out a bill, and you'll see it says Federal Reserve Note. A note is a debt instrument. And it's not just that the level of debt that we're carrying is not sustainable. It hasn't been sustainable forever. But it's also that it's not payable. And I say that it's not payable because I'd have to do a huge study to figure out exactly when the debt hit a level where we weren't paying all the interest on our debt. So that excess interest, just like if you don't pay all the interest on your credit card, whatever interest you didn't pay goes into the balance, and now you're compounding interest because you're paying interest on interest. And I know that in 2013, or 2009 rather, that's when I did that study, after we had grown that debt a lot because of what happened in 2008. And so I'm saying to myself, well, okay, we're running deficits of, at that point, roughly $1 trillion, but we're servicing $13 trillion in debt. Why? Where did that come from? And you can go back in there. I mean, I could actually do this It would take some time, but I actually could do that. If you guys want me to do just that study again, and I'll see when we flip to the side where it says we're bankrupt. Because once you start compounding interest, you're never going to pay that debt off, ever. So we're bankrupt. We can't pay it. And no one special, I disagree with that strongly, asks, I took a page out of your playbook and sent my 1 ounce gold bars to Liberty Finance's current deal through Miles Franklin for an equal 1-to-1 swap for MS63 pre-33 St. Gaudens. Your thoughts? Well, I know Andy Schechtman very well. We've done a lot of events together. We both really have a lot of respect for each other. But Miles Franklin doesn't deal in pre-33s, though I personally know from Andy that that's the lion's share of his personal portfolio is in pre-33s. I don't know how they did it on a 1-to-1 basis. If you got the coin, you could take a picture and let me see what you did. But I definitely don't. This is my only eagle, that and my bracelet. Oh, I forgot to put a bracelet on. That and my bracelet where I have those coins. That's it. I don't own any bullion because I'm 100% certain they're going to do a confiscation. And if they don't, then I have something that's more rare than that. So it doesn't really matter because I guarantee you I didn't pay $40,000 for that coin. Guarantee you I didn't. And that's the fundamental value. And Jeffrey Varnum asks, what's going to happen with the $27 trillion in the Nostros Vostro accounts if they switch the banking system? What do you think happens? Goes away. Becomes irrelevant, doesn't it? You got to be your own central bank. You've got to hold gold for the same darn reason that the central banks are holding gold, is so that they can retain their independence and their freedom.
Okay, so Morgan, the beauty box. I'm sorry I missed this question earlier. I want to make sure I'm getting everyone's questions. When they audit Fort Knox, if we hold less than that's been claimed, what will that do to the price of physical gold, taking into consideration ETFs and paper contracts?
Well, it depends on how many ETFs and paper contracts they create to suppress the price, but it would really make the spot price, the visible price, I would think, shoot up. However, again, they could have exactly the same amount of bars. What we don't know is all of those leased contracts. That's what I want to see. Yes, good to make sure that the bars are actually there, but even more important to see who actually really is the owner of those bars. That we don't know. And Colleen Allen asks, where do you take your scrap metals like broken jewelry and silverware to get cash? What is the process? I've never done it. Well, there are different places that you can take it. You can take it to any jewelry store. What you need to do is make sure that you're clear on what spot is before you do this, so that, yes, you'll take it in and they can take a reasonable amount, but you need to be educated to know how much that should be. And then determine it. But there's also smelters, so you can look them up in the yellow pages. Does anybody look up in the yellow pages anymore?
I heard you say that. I was like, yellow pages. Huh?
Yellow pages, yeah. What are those? But yeah, I mean, you can go online and do a search, and you can take it to any jewelry store, but reputable, or any smelter, even our wholesalers. I'd have to double check on this, but I'm pretty sure that our wholesalers would even buy it. So that's what you do. You just find somebody local and you take it in there, and then they'll just convert it into whatever the current currency is at the time. Just make sure that you're well educated as to what you should get. If we're talking about like coins, right? What I always suggested, now not everybody always took my advice, but I'm going to say take this advice, right? Call us first. Let us tell you what we would pay for it. Then rock and roll hoochie coo. Call whoever you want to, contact whoever you want to, because then you're going to know, is this a fair bid or not? Okay? That's it. You don't have to sell it back to us. Even if we give you that bid, you can do whatever you want. It's in your possession. That's the point. But that's the way I would do it. Make sure that you're working with somebody that's reputable, that should tell you roughly, or not roughly, what they would pay at this price. Then make your phone calls. Now you're making educated choices. And Jay Jones asks, what? Paradashi? Yeah. How much pre-33 is there in existence, and what is your buyback policy on pre-33s? So it will vary a little bit, and I suggest that you give us a call and talk to one of our strategy specialists, and they can get more specific. But if the total gold market fits into an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and these are less than 2% of that, it's an itty bit, maybe a wading pond. Right? That's how much there are. So, and we do have a standardized policy, but something like this, which I use for savings, is going to be different than that. So just give us a call and we'll be happy to share all of that information. We believe in educated choices, so we don't hide anything. And it's also on our website, which they're working on making a much better website.
I know we have like, or at least you've kind of explained that there's a way to see, or that we've seen, all the gold that's ever been kind of created, or excuse me, all the gold that's in the ground, all the gold that's above the ground. Does the government know how much they've minted in terms of pre-33 stuff?
Yes, but what they don't know is how many were melted down.
I see.
Okay?
That's what I was getting at.
So what we do know, although it's a little askew, is how many coins in this particular quality level at this date were slabbed.
Yes.
And that's what we know. So there we can get a lot more specific.
Got it.
However, as you pointed out one day when we were talking,
Yep.
well, what if I think that it should grade out higher and I broke this open, because these cases are tamper-proof. So if somebody tries to tamper with it, you're going to have to get it regraded.
I see.
So typically, even that number is more than likely to be roughly 10% higher than the number that's actually in existence.
Got it. That makes sense, right? That would make sense too.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what we can track. I can't tell you, like, of these.
Of the raw ones?
Of the raw ones, I could not even begin to tell you how many are in existence, because I have no idea how many were melted.
Some might be jewelry, right? Some might be turned into something. Some might be, I mean, there's all sorts of uses for even, I'm wearing a silver coin on my finger right now.
Right.
So I see what you're saying. There would be no way to know. It would be impossible. Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Okay.
But we do know how much gold has ever been mined.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That we do know. And all gold is recoverable. And the point that you make, oh, yes, you're wearing, a silver coin on your, on your finger, or a gold watch, or what have you. Gold and silver in any form are monetary at their base, which is why no matter what your circumstances are, you can accumulate silver, right? This is sterling silver. It's 92.5% pure. I probably didn't even pay $1 for it when I bought it at a yard sale, right?
Real quickly, Paradishi also says, well, thank you for answering the question. Of course, we're here to be of service to you. Is higher, like in terms of the grade, is higher grade better?
It depends on what you're trying to accomplish, right? It really does. That's why we establish what your goals are first. Like, this for me, this is a raw pre-33, right? This is what I have for emergencies. So if I needed to generate some cash, like right now, this is what I'm selling first.
Right. And the raw, just to kind of clarify, is still considered collectible, correct?
Well, according to the documentation, any coin minted prior to 33 is rare and unusual. So I take that to mean, yep, that's a collectible.
Got it. Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
And why? Because if you stop and think about it, after 1933, coins were not slabbed. When my Uncle Al was out there buying the coins from these from wealthy people when he was buying the other antiques. To your point, you said about $40 an ounce, right? I mean, these coins were not slabbed. They didn't even start the grading process on these till 1986. And believe me, I've been in this business for so long. The way that it used to be once we could buy the coins again is somebody would look at them as this and go, oh, well, in my opinion, that's a mint state 66. So you're going to pay the price for mint state 66 when in reality, it could have even not been gradable, right? So people got kind of screwed. I mean, it's just true, by shysters. But that's when they started the standardized program. These coins go through like this 100-step process. A lot of different people that go through and document why this happens to be a mint state 63. So standardize that whole process so that people knew that they're getting what we say they're getting. We deal with PCGS and NGC because those are the two that are globally accepted at 100%. If PCGS says this is a mint state 63, then the whole world accepts it. Some of the other ones are not accepted at that level, maybe 80%, maybe 40%, right? So that's why we are strictly, now I don't know that but this will be accurate. We are only dealing with NGC or PCGS because those are the only two grading services that are accepted globally at 100%. And Jay Jones asks, what happens to student loan debts when the currency goes? What should we do about it? Okay. It depends on whether or not your student loans are variable rate or fixed rate. Fixed rate loans, any fixed rate debt, then what I suggest is that you execute exactly the same strategy as the government executes, which is to repay those debts with dollars that have virtually no value. The variable rate debts like credit cards and student loans that are variable rate, that is a lot more dangerous because interest rates will be going up. And they have a tendency, we've already watched President Biden when he was trying to forgive a lot of those student loans. And if you go on to the Federal Reserve Education Department, and you put in the student loans, you can see when that market took off and the costs of that education also took off because it was subsidized by the government. So whether or not they're going to forgive those loans, keep in mind that the entities that actually pay are us taxpayers. It's not the government. How does the government generate their income? Through taxes and fees and fines and things like that. So they always make it sound like they're spending their money or they're forgiving their debt, but they're not. They're doing it on our behalf.
Real quick, I just want to follow up on Paradishi because they're asking about, so is MS65 better than MS60 and how does that value system work?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. Mm-hmm. Okay, so MS means mint state, which actually means never been in circulation, which was the original intent of these. However, back in the early 1920s, teens, 20s, 30s, they were not thinking about this market. So they would have put them in a vault and thrown them in there. Maybe they were in a pouch or a bag, and that means they're knocking against each other, and there will be more blemishes, even if they've never been in circulation. Mint state, to your point, accurate, goes between 60 on the most blemishes, so never been in circulation, but lots of blemishes, to 70, mint state 70, which means no blemishes at all, absolutely perfect. I think the highest quality level that I have are mint state 68s, and there are not a whole lot of those out there because, again, these were used to be in circulation. This would probably be the closest to a mint state 60. It's not mint state. It's been in circulation. It has lots and lots of blemishes. But that kind of coin, there will be a lot more of those, and they will flow, at least at this point, close to what's happening in the spot market. It will reflect it. When you get to the higher quality levels and the more rare coins, that is totally a physical only. And, let me see if I can pull that up. Come on. I can show it to you, actually. Okay, let me go here. Well, let's go here. I don't need that up anymore.
And real quickly, Rahala says, hey, Lynette, saw you in Melbourne, Australia.
Oh, hi.
Wanted to say thank you for what you do. Will we be back next year or this year? It is this year.
I will
already.
not
Whoa.
be back this year because this year I will be in Malaysia and in Germany. But I have been invited back for next year. So we haven't really finalized anything yet. But I love Australia. So, okay. Okay, I'm going to open 2 of these. Can we share my screen? Okay. Let's do. Okay.
Ready?
Yes. Okay. Because it's
going to the other screen. I just love that for you.
Is it going to the other screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hold on a second. I am not going to be daunted by this. I promise you. I will just put it on a PowerPoint. That's all.
Boom.
Boom. Okay. There we go. Okay. So this is, when you were talking about mint state 70s, this is the ultra rarities. So this is the area there. These coins are like millions of dollars. And let me grab the pointer so you can see it better. This is where the price action is right now. That nobody cares about the stupid spot market on these coins. This is a purely physical only market, supply and demand, and the 1%ers would be buying this. So can you see that? All-time highs. This over here is 2008. So did it create a correction there? But you see, how do you know when you're in a positive trend? You have higher and higher and higher lows. Because if you keep getting higher and higher lows, you're going to get higher highs. So those outperform. Now, hold on a second. Okay, and I am going to, I hate when my mouse disappears. It's so annoying. All right, let me go back over here. And I am going to grab the more common ones, which are like this. Okay? Because that's the area that I buy in. Okay. Okay, let me just print screen. And let me put that on here. Okay, so it's making me close it in order to do this, but yeah, but that's okay. I am not daunted unless it doesn't give it to me. Then I have to go back. Nope, it gave it to me. Oh, I see my mouse and then it disappears. All right, this is not pretty, but okay, can we wait? And resume slideshow. Is that working? No. Why is it not working?
Do you remember how I said like every time we shut the laptop, it like resets the settings? Remember? So I think what happened is it resets the send to / extend display settings. I don't know why, but that's what happens every time. That's why your mouse keeps going over to the other screen too.
Oh, it's so annoying. Well, I can't show you this, but it is substantially lower than what you're seeing on that screen because the smart money really understands. They probably are either they are writing the laws or have the ability to influence those that write the laws, right? So they know more about what's going on than anybody else. And you can kind of see the difference, but bear with me. I'll tell you what. I'll do a whole piece on that to get more clear on the different levels and how they behave and work. And we'll go from there if you can just have a little bit of patience. And Lulu Fulu asks, if the government shuts down, does that mean politicians don't get paid either? That's not the part that gets shut down. So they keep getting paid. And actually, even in a shutdown, what ends up happening, either they're furloughed, so they're still getting paid even though they're not doing the work, or then they get a big chunk afterwards. So it's kind of like silly. And the old guy, is it true that student loans are the largest asset on the U.S. government balance sheet? No, that's not true. It's Social Security. Medicare, those are the pieces. It's pretty good, but the other part of those student loans is a lot of them have been securitized. In other words, turned into securities and then sold to you. Now, if they forgive those loans, who gets screwed? Right? And Scott Cornett asks, pay off mortgage with gold or keep gold and continue to pay mortgage. Right now, accumulate gold. But when they do that first overnight reset, and you're going to see, because the only reason why I have a mortgage right now is because I really want to execute the strategy along with you. So I don't have a big one. I have a little one, but I have my gold set aside for it. So you want to accumulate the gold right now. And then when they do that overnight reset and we see spot go up 3,500% or whatever it's going to go up, then you're going to take a little bit of gold, oops, liquidate it. That was not, no, Juliet, you were fine. That was Arthur. Anyway, you're going to take a little bit of the gold, liquidate it, and bam, pay that debt off. I'm not going to wait, even though gold will hold up, the spot market will hold up for, I don't know how long, but on average about 9 months. Why wait? Even though it's not going to be expressing to its full fundamental value at that point, why wait? What might take you 10 ounces of gold right now might only take you 1/4 of an ounce then. Right? So yeah, accumulate. And then when it's time to pay off is when they do that overnight revaluation. That's the time to use it. And considering the Bitcoin has been hijacked by government, per Roger Ver, could all crypto, including stablecoin XRP, not really be the government's CBDC? That was my point earlier. Oh, maybe I didn't say it on air. It might have been one of the things that we recorded, right? You can't go by a name, right? Because a name is just a name. And typically when the government gives something a name, it's whatever its opposite, whatever the safest, soundest thing you can do means it's the biggest risk on the freaking planet, right? So yeah, absolutely. If you look at the hijacking, if it was a hijacking, I think it's a Trojan horse. So I think it was always intended to usher in the next digital surveillance money. That's why it's so important for us to come together in a global community and convert your fiat into this at a high enough level, I think we got a shot if 3% of the population, the global population, does it, to have a seat at the table in the new monetary system. And I'm super excited to start this new venture and try and make a difference. You know, if not me, who? If not now, when? That's what everybody needs to look in the mirror and ask themselves, and then join us. Because one person can only do so much, but together we can do everything and anything. And El Snapatan question, with hyperinflation around the corner, will we see a hyperinflation after to bring prices down to pre-64 level? Well, that's the lopping off, but the new system, once they've finished all of the debt, repaying all of the debt with dollars that were yen or whatever, that have absolutely zero value. Now we're starting in a brand new system. I want to say in that system, because if we don't, and if it is a pure surveillance system, you better have all of that local security in place, because you better have gold and silver in your possession outside of the system, or you will lose every bit of choice that you have. For me personally, I'm not really worried. I have gold, I have silver, I have food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. But it does matter, and I care greatly about all of our children and about all of you that are watching this. This is a huge responsibility that I'm happy to take on because we've got to. We don't have any choice. We've got to do it. Retirement? Meh. This is my retirement. Thank you very much.
Tiger Stacker is the last.
Hi, Tiger Stacker. How you doing? I love this, but I want to put a bigger hopium sticker on there so it's more obvious. But I love this. Thank you so much for that very special gift that you sent and all the silver and all of this. I love it. Okay, Tiger Stacker asks, if pre-33 is not going to be confiscated and silver is not going to be confiscated, do they play on equal playing fields to stack? No, they don't, because they have different functions, right? So I've been studying currency life cycles since 1987, but I've really been in these markets on some level since my earliest memory is 4 years old. And they have different functions because they are used differently. And so while both gold and silver are used in every single sector of the global economy, silver actually gets used up, right? That's why it is this secondary currency metal. And when you do studies on what happens to both gold and silver during inflation, hyperinflation, deflation, hyperdeflation, gold always outperforms. Now, when you're talking about the pre-33s, that means it even outperforms more. So the way that we do it at Zang Enterprises is we define what your day-to-day cost of living is. And we define it clearly enough to know, like, this is a rooster, right? Old foreign gold coin. What do you need for your property taxes? This is what I personally use for my property taxes, the old foreign gold coins or the fractional U.S. coins, either way, okay? For my silver, that's what I use for my day-to-day purchases. So if I need to put a tank of gas in my car, or I need to buy a pint of strawberries. Now, if you have your own gardens, you can swap food for food, but understand that gold and silver became the primary and secondary currency metal because they don't have a shelf life. You know, they've tried food before. In Germany, during their hyperinflation, they were going to back their currency with rye, which was at that time a very, very important commodity in Germany. But rye has a shelf life. What? Adam's over here having a cow.
Yeah, what? Rye? Bread? Yeah. Like
right, rye. Well, not bread, but rye that they would make into bread. Yeah, absolutely.
Whoa.
Over the years, everything has been tried. right? Puka shells have been tried. In Lapland, they have these ginormous coins, rock coins, that are, a lot of them are sitting at the bottom of the ocean because you can't trade them. You can't carry them. They're too heavy, right? So, and that's the thing. For thousands of years, people have tried creating different forms of money. Gold is the only, not silver, I did not say silver. Gold is the only commodity that actually supports all of the functions of sound money. That's why it's sound money. Okay? I mean, go ahead. Let me try and give you change from that giant stone. You can't do it. It's the same thing. Why aren't diamonds? Well, they figured out how to make diamonds in a lab. And if you have a big diamond, the bigger the diamond, the more value it has. If you break that down into smaller diamonds, do those smaller diamonds retain their value? No, they have a lot less. Whereas with gold, to your earlier point with your silver ring on your finger, gold and silver in any form are monetary at their base. And you can take it from one form, put it into another form, and it doesn't lose its value. You can take a bigger piece, put it into smaller pieces, right? And it doesn't lose its value. So there are reasons why gold evolved as the primary currency metal, silver as the secondary currency metal, but they have different functions. And so that's how we do it at Zang Enterprises. We have a conversation, right? It's not that you can't do it at all with silver. It's not that you can't. You can, but silver takes up a whole lot more space and it does not perform as well as gold. Take a look at all of those charts that I do. Do it yourself, Tiger Stacker. Find a site that will translate the U.S. dollars into, pick a currency, any currency, I don't care. Spot into any currency. Gold into any currency. Use the same time frame, whether you do it for a year, 5 years, 10 years. And you're going to see over and over and over and over again, even into resets, that gold outperforms, silver outperforms dollars hands down. Gold outperforms that. It is the primary currency metal. It does not get used up, and it meets the 4 criteria of being a good currency. It is a tool of measure, a tool of barter, a short-term store of value to make sure you're fairly paid for your current labor, and a long-term store of value so that no matter when you want to use that, you're still being fairly paid for the labor that created that money. So they're 2 different things. They have 2 different functions, and that's why I do what I do.
He had one follow-up question, and then that's it for this.
Okay. If pre-33 is not,
I have a good bit of straight.
and by the way, I cannot guarantee that pre-33s will not be confiscated. Historically, they have not been, and the challenge that they would have if they did it would be they would have to look at each individual coin and determine its fair market value, and there's just not that much of it. It's less than 2% of the gold market, right? They can do it easier. Eminent domain laws, they could take anything they want. And stay tuned. I still have 2 more parts on the confiscation to do. So they're coming up. And it's just that gold meets all the criteria. By the time we get into a digital currency, I mean, this has already lopped off from 4 functions to 3 functions, right? Because if you save just this, it's not going to buy you the same thing when you go to use it. Even if you hold it for 6 months, it's not going to buy you the same, right? When we go to digital, they're going down to 2 functions, and they've talked about this, simply as a tool of measure. Okay, this is going to cost X, and a tool of barter. We'll have to stabilize it first, and a tool of barter. But since the central banks say if you give us the digital currency, we can have our finger on that economic button 24/7. So as soon as you're deposited, your paycheck is deposited into your account, it immediately starts losing value. So forget short-term store of value, forget long-term store of value. Is that okay with you? Because it's not okay with me. Let's see. Do they play on silver? Okay. Do they play on equal playing fields to stack? Nope. I have a good bit of straight bullion, non-slab pre-33 and fun collectibles and gold. Should I trade that in for only pre-33 slabbed or unslabbed, or just go on from now and pick up what I can? So you have to do what you're comfortable with. And you're a smart guy. I mean, I enjoyed my time with you on your show because you're very bright. I only have pre-33s other than this because if I'm holding this piece of bullion up, I need to have a piece of bullion. But you've got to do what you're comfortable with. I don't really like bullion. I'm sorry. And I know a lot of people disagree with me, and a lot of people say, oh, they'd never confiscate it again. Let me tell you, when I saw, I don't even know that I did this. Yeah, our videos, because I just did, you've got to go and watch the confiscation videos because I address a lot of those questions, I feel like, in that. And if I missed anything, go ahead and email it to me and give me a chance to explain it further. But it is not the same playing field. And it really should be based upon what it is that you're trying to accomplish. I have to make sure that I can always pay a bunch of salaries, a lot of salaries. That's what this is about for me. Okay. However, I also want to make sure that I leave a legacy for my family because I would like to think that they can dream. I want them to be able to dream like I got to dream, but I actually want them to have the ability to make those dreams come true. So I want them to be able to work, but I don't want them to be able to do nothing. For me, that's what this is about, is building that foundation so that my children and their children and their children and their children have the same or more opportunities than my generation had. You know, it's so make sure that you check out our recent videos about consumer confidence crashing, and we just posted that. And then again, all of these confiscation pieces that I'm working on. You know, we've got 2 that are recorded so far. We'll be doing another one next week. The first one comes out, and really watch them take some notes and see what I missed and let me know, because I want to be as thorough as possible. And you can bring those questions to the live Q&As anyway, and definitely spread the word. Next Tuesday on the live, I'm catching the red eye back from Miami on Monday night, so I can't guarantee what I'm going to look like or feel like, but I'm going to tell you what my experience was, because go on this journey with me, right? Let's bring back sound money into the system again. Let's do it. I don't know how to do it, but I'm working on it. I'm showing up. I'm doing the work. Show up with me. And you're going to see this journey along with me. I'm very excited about it. It's definitely taken me into areas that in a gazillion years, if you'd asked me 2 weeks, no, maybe 3 months ago, if you'd asked me 3 months ago, I would have said, no way. Well, yes way, because that's my commitment to you. If I don't do it, who's gonna? Join me. And so until next we meet, I 100% know that together we can make a positive difference for the world. Really. I mean, it's amazing to me to say that, because who am I? I'm just me. But I can't do it alone. So join me. Let's do this together. Let's build that community. And until next we meet, please be safe out there. Bye-bye.